Hey, how you doing? Anthony Ferraro here of Create Sci-Fi. Welcome to another video on my series, How to Create a DIY Sci-Fi Short. Today, I want to talk to you about key art. Now, key art is very important, and I think now when we're promoting our projects before they're even done on social media, it's very important to have a focused image that you are going to promote throughout the whole life of your project so people don't get confused. And now I tend to just grab a still image from my raw media. I don't think it's necessary to do a photo shoot anymore. So I'm going to show you how to create basic thumbnails, postcards, and a poster, all from one basic image size, a 4x6 300 DPI. And from that, you're going to be able to update that as you get screening dates or if you get laurels. And this is just a basic how-to. This is not a Photoshop tutorial. Like a lot of my videos, I'm just going to hold your hand and bring you through this step-by-step of how I do it. Very, very basic. And I think less is more in this case anyway. You don't want a Photoshoppy poster with people's headshots and different images. Just one key art image, just the psychological gesture of your piece. You probably have a shot in mind if you've been watching your footage or something that you have imagined. So again, broken record, not a tutorial, but a step-by-step, a DIY hand-holding. I'm going to take you through my process, and we're going to get you going on some key art. It's a really fun thing to do, and it's something that's very satisfying once you do it yourself. All right, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go online and we're going to go to Video Copilot. Believe me, the more and more you get into DIY sci-fi, Video Copilot, Andrew Kramer will be your friend. He has here a free credit block, which is really handy. You just want to download that, and it also includes the font. Download that. It's Photoshop, very quick. Okay, and now we're going to find our fonts. You just want two fonts. You want a title font, and then you want a secondary font. You don't really want to use more than two fonts. And I'm going to find a title font. I like this Earth Orbiter. And then for the secondary font, you just want something basic, simple, bold, something easily readable. And I'm just going to grab this one. And we're going to keep things organized just like editing. So we're going to create a folder structure. First thing you're going to do is create a folder and call it the name of your project, Key Art. Then we're going to create some subfolders, assets, stills, fonts, and finals for your final exports. So now we're going to go over into Premiere Pro or whatever editing software you're using, and we're going to find the image that we want to use. So you're going to scrub through, or hopefully at this point you're familiar with your project and you kind of have an idea of what could work good. So in Premiere Pro, you can export a still image, and what we're going to do is we're going to export that to our folder. And I'm just going to select a few because once you start moving around text, you don't know what's going to work. You could have an idea that something's perfect, and maybe once you start doing it, it's not so perfect. And here's just a few images that I selected, and I'm going to get started. And I want to mention, if you don't have Photoshop, it's worth it to get it as part of the Adobe suite. As a DIY filmmaker, you're probably going to be in Premiere Pro. If you're making sci-fi, eventually After Effects is in your future. You don't want to be afraid of that either. And because they're all Adobe products, if you learn the basics of Photoshop, that'll give you a very solid foundation for one day exploring After Effects. Or if you need to communicate with somebody who's doing those effects for you, you'll have a better grasp on what's required and what you need from them. But moving on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new image, and this is important. So we want this to be 300 DPI, and we're going to do a standard postcard size, 4x6, which is 1800 pixels by 1200 pixels, and resolution, usually it will save 72. 72 is what video is. We want to change this to 300, and that's 300 DPI. So what that means is when it's 300 DPI, you can scale that up quite a bit and you're not going to lose resolution. Now we got our 4x6 canvas. First thing I'm going to do is just bring in these two guidelines. If you just pull down from the ruler, we're going to set these a 1/2 inch on the top and bottom, because this is going to allow us to have some wiggle room for when we turn this into a thumbnail later. And now we're going to go to open, and we're just going to click on those images that we just saved from our project. And we're just going to import one of these images that we saved. And because it's 300 DPI, we're just going to resize this till we fit it in something that looks nice, but also you want to keep in mind, design-wise, you want to have some negative space to add your title and your credits and your log line, whatever other information you want to put in there. So now we go over here to this text tool, and you just click into the image, and it's going to create a new layer, and you're going to type your title. Now, you can change the font size up on the top, or you can just hit Apple T, and you can just make sure you hit Shift, and you grab one of these corner arrows, and you can resize it, and you can move it around. And then I like to add just a little bit of a qualifier text to my titles, and you know, it could be a new film by your name, make it smaller, we'll put it on the top here. Now you can also have this be, if you have a name actor, or if you want to feature an actor, the actor's name in the title of your production. And then now we're going to do just a log line. So right here, we're going to just put whatever your log line is. So now we're going to go into our assets, and we're going to grab that credit block that we downloaded earlier. Okay, so now we're going to grab this window, and we're going to separate it so that I have two windows open. And you're just going to grab the arrow move tool, and you're just going to pull this into your project. Oh, and there it is. So again, Apple T, and you're going to just grab the corner of this and resize it till it is where you like. So now that font we downloaded earlier, you should install it. If you don't know how to install a font, I'm not going to go into detail here. You can definitely look that up online. And we're just going to change the title to its own font. And then the movie by or featuring and our log line, we're going to change with that secondary font that we got. And also, too, I am a terrible speller, and if you have OCD, this will drive you crazy. And that's one thing I do keep in mind is I know I'm a horrible speller, so I do triple check things. It's just built into my process. So now we're going to add a drop shadow. If you click on the text, that's going to bring up this layer style dialog box. And you're just going to click drop shadow. And you'll see the angle and the spread and the size. And, you know, just like everyone else, the way you learn these is it's pretty simple. You just slide things back and forth till it looks aesthetically pleasing. And I'm going to set that. And what you can do is once you have it to where you want it, set that. Now I'll move the credit block. Okay, so now I'm going to reposition that. And now we're going to save that as the title, key art as a Photoshop file. It'll default to Photoshop. So now we're going to build the poster. Now we're going to rotate the image. You just go into File, Image, Rotate, and Apple T. And then when you grab the corner and you can turn this, just hit Shift. When you turn it, it'll just give you 45-degree turns. And now you scale that, and we're going to resize it basically until it looks pleasing. So now the same thing, I'm going to Apple T this text, hit Shift, grab the corner until we get it facing the right way. And now I'm just going to futz with it. I'm going to take my arrow tool, move things around, and save that as poster. Now, another thing that happens that you got to keep open to is now that I've built my foundation, I'm not crazy about this image anymore. Now that I'm seeing it with the text, I'm going to try something different. And now this is basically our template, which is nice. So now the groundwork is done. I'm just going to bring in a new image. And so now I have this image, and I think, you know, for social media, this large image, you know, imagine that this is just a thumbnail, I think this is going to be a better option. So I bring this in, replace the other picture, and you just put it on top of it. And that way, the other one is still there if you want to use it. And I'm just going to move this around. So I have this saved as a poster, and now I'm going to make this the postcard. So I turn it clockwise. And again, I'm going to save this as a postcard, and I'm just going to slide this image into a place that looks good. I still have the log line spelled wrong. I'll catch that soon. So now, since this is the postcard, I'm just going to add a little text, and whatever your event date or wherever you're screening, you put that there. And now I'm going to save this as a thumbnail for YouTube or Vimeo or Facebook. So we're going to crop this, and we're just going to crop this to 1920 by 1080. And for this, because it's a thumbnail, I want it to be a little bolder in text. So here's the title of the film is a little bigger. And what is it? It's a sci-fi short. So I'm going to make that big. And now, finally, I fixed the log line. And there we have a thumbnail. When we export this as a postcard, you're going to save as a JPEG. And then the thumbnail, you're going to save as a JPEG. You're going to export, you're going to save for web. And this will make it a smaller file size. And the poster, you can save that as a JPEG. So now, because the poster is 300 DPI and that's 4x6, if you wanted to print a lobby poster, you would just increase it to 24 by 36, and you can get that printed.
All right. Well, I hope you found that video useful. I really love doing the key art, and for me, sometimes I'll even procrastinate on a project by creating my poster, and in a weird way, it kind of gives me a light at the end of the tunnel, and it gives me a sense of what I'm reaching for. Well, I hope you found the video useful. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I'd love to know what you think. Sign up for the email newsletter, and remember, I'm just here to help make sci-fi.